Another thing that I wanted to ask you about is what's becoming more and more described as votes for visas, and we have a graph here from Gideon Rosner, which shows that of the countries giving visas to people claiming to be refugees fleeing from Gaza, we seem to be the country which is the most generous, and some would say the most careless, and really careless in the giving of those visas. The other Western countries are giving very few, and extraordinarily, the Arab and Muslim countries seem to be almost unanimous in closing their borders to whatever is happening in Gaza. This seems to be a really extraordinary thing for the Albanese government to be involved in, because there is always the danger that if you don't check the backgrounds of people, that you're going to be bringing in people who will revive and fight their ancient hatreds, but perhaps do worse and even resort to terrorism, as we have seen in the past. What is your feeling about these visas being issued, tourist visas even?
David, this is a scandal, and there's quite a lot to unpack here, but briefly, this is not just high risk, this is extreme risk. You could not find a place on the planet which involves more risk from which to import people. Unfortunately, there have been 2 generations in Gaza that have been brainwashed with hatred, not just hatred of Jews, anti-Semitism, but also hatred of infidels, hatred of Western society. There have been a number of surveys which have demonstrated that Hamas still retains around 70% support, and the sort of actions that were carried out on October the 7th of the most barbaric murder, sexual violence, kidnapping, has overwhelming support. So it's really highly problematic. And the immediate surrounding countries, being Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, have taken between them exactly 0 because they assess the risk as too great. And it is extraordinary and incomprehensible that our government can argue that they've done security screening, sometimes in 24 hours or less, sometimes as quickly as in 1 hour from Canberra, that, maybe our bureaucrats have greater insight and are able to assess more accurately than all the surrounding Arab Muslim countries. It's a complete nonsense. And past experience, unfortunately, where cohorts from this area have been brought in, have a very, very poor track record. There was a group of about 320 that were brought into Denmark some years ago, and there was a follow-up study done, and about 2/3 of them, by the time the follow-up study was done, had a criminal record. It's a big deal. It is very, very hard to integrate these people, and we have a lot of information that the security screening was not done and could not have been done properly, and it puts all Australians at risk. And as you know, it's said that the highest duty of a government is to protect its citizens, and on this duty, our government is failing. And we think that people like Peter Dutton and Senator James Paterson have been absolutely correct in calling for a halt, at least until individual proper assessments can be done.
What do you understand, Dr. Adler, what do you understand by the statement of the head of ASIO that mere rhetorical support of is acceptable? What on earth is rhetorical support? of terrorists.
Look, I've never heard that term before, and as you might be aware, in the last few days, he sort of walked it back a bit, arguing that he might have been misinterpreted, or I think he just spoke very, very badly. He's now saying that if anyone indicates that they have any measure of support for Hamas, which is a proscribed terrorist organisation, that would put up a red flag from ASIO's point of view. So I think he's shifted his words to having got himself into some difficulty in that particular interview on the ABC. So there is no difference between rhetorical support and ideological support. And as has been seen all around the world, in the UK, in Europe, and elsewhere, people who have rhetorical or ideological support can be a very major problem in a Western society, and some of them can be quite violent, acting it out.
Yes, but if this is being done as is being suggested, because of a fear of losing Muslim votes in some electorates, then this is an appalling thing to risk Australia with.